I'm Aaron Mertens, Technical Services Manager at STERIS Life Sciences, and I'm here at INTERPHEX 2021 with Lindsay Smart from ZETA. Lindsay is giving a talk tomorrow afternoon, which is Wednesday at 4:15, and we're excited to be here with Lindsay. Interview talking about hybrid facilities. And Lindsay, maybe you could introduce yourself and give us a brief introduction to your talk for tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks. I will. Thanks for asking me. Delighted to be here, particularly as I'm a traveller from the UK to be in the US. It's fantastic to be back in New York City again. The last time I was here was the last actual INTERPHEX. So yeah, my name's Lindsay Smart. I'm CEO of ZETA USA. I've got the pleasure and honour of setting up our engineering hub outside of our HQ in Austria. We're based in Springhouse Innovation Park in Philadelphia, and we've got a team of engineers there now to essentially give in-market support to our customers in the US and North American market. With regards to my talk, as you said, it's about hybrid facilities. We as an organization do a lot of design and engineering for stainless steel typically, but now we've started to do a lot more in single use, and ultimately the word hybrid, as far as we're concerned at ZETA, is essentially a facility that uses both single use technologies and stainless steel technologies. And the sort of basic premise is that as single use becomes more popular, as clearly it is doing in our industry, is there still a role for stainless steel? And ultimately we think yes, and that ultimately hybrid facilities are the way forward.
Great. Yeah, that sounds like an excellent topic. Really, I suppose you're looking at the pros and the cons of single-use technology, the pros and the cons of stainless steel technology, and integrating those, taking the best of both worlds.
Absolutely. We've got no axe to grind in that regard because we don't manufacture any single-use technology at all. We can, and I refer to this in the talk, we can agnostically work with anybody's single-use material or systems. So whatever a customer needs, whoever it's from, we can integrate that into the design, and I say fully integrate that into the design, and then ultimately the talk has actually now evolved into a discussion about retrofitting single-use technology into old or obsolete stainless steel facilities, and I've got some case studies that describe how you can actually do that. So as that continuation or that increased popularity of single-use technology continues or it grows, people are looking at their stainless steel facilities going, yeah, do I need to knock this down or can I actually get some more life out of it? And that's where this sort of retrofitting of single-use technology can come in, and we explore a few of some case studies that we've done.
So that's great. Tomorrow you'll be going through some case studies where you've implemented this. So if I understand correctly, you're really retrofitting and taking the conventional stainless steel model and bringing in the
single
use and really taking the best of both worlds.
That's the whole premise basically. Yeah. So we essentially we talk. There's no barriers to doing that. I mean, very rarely is it the case that people have got fallow space or unused or obsolete facilities, but ultimately you can do that, retrofit it in, and we always recommend robust cost analyses, but there may not be a need to build a greenfield site, for instance.
Okay.
And that's what we can explore, how you can, like as you've said, retrofit it in.
Right.
And that utilizing infrastructure or some of the stainless steel systems that are already in place gives that, for us, our definition of hybrid, and ultimately gives that, as you say, or as we say, best of both worlds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So ultimately you get the if you like, the features and the benefits from single-use technology, and the features and the benefits from stainless steel, and combine the two. And ultimately, the cost of implementation, the speed of implementation would be lower.
Okay. So do you have an ideal customer, or is there a certain type of manufacturing or production that lends itself to this hybrid model more than another?
I wouldn't. I mean, essentially, it's when you talk about the upstream, it's we can say standard MAB production is a good one, of course, where people are essentially mammalian cell culture, where the upstream is based on mammalian cell culture. That if there was one customer, that would be
Okay.
and of course, in today's environment, there's a lot of people doing that sort of work. So yeah, these it's not a niche area. Let's put it that way.
Right. Right. That's good. Well, it sounds exciting then to look to the future, what we can expect to look at this hybrid.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I should say, and I talk about it in the talk, is that other people have different, views or definitions of hybrid. I should point that out. So different,
Right.
different organizations, different companies think of hybrid in different way. We simply consider it to be a facility that uses a mix of any proportion of stainless steel and single-use
Okay.
systems in their production process, and so yeah, we do very much see that even as single-use technology, the innovation grows, it can always be incorporated into current, let's say, facilities, as well as greenfield. I mean, there's no issue clearly from growing, building a thing from scratch.
So in your experience with these case studies or with different manufacturing facilities that you've helped move to this hybrid model, what one thing just would you say is the key to success to make this work?
I mean, I think really you've got to be open to the fact that so some people I think arguably were guilty or potentially being guilty of throwing the baby out with the bathwater with single-use technology, and there's often this sort of feeling that, and I think probably in things more like cell and gene therapy facilities, they're just straight single-use facilities. They just want to use single-use materials. It's a lower throughput. It's a lower volumes, etc. And so really, when you've done your cost analyses, and this is the way that you want to go, I think really you've just got to be customers need to be open to the fact that we need to be able to, if you like, apply traditional stainless steel methodology, thinking, engineering, design principles to ultimately what is a single-use facility, or in our words, a hybrid facility, because there's still that stainless steel infrastructure there. So really, from our perspective, there is no limit. There is no, well, you can't use that facility. You can't use that technology, single-use technology in that facility here. You can't. You have to do it this way. You don't. So really, that's the benefit. There are no real limits to it. The only limits are essentially the limits of the technology itself, and ultimately, that's for the single-use technology manufacturers to continue to innovate, and ultimately, it won't be a barrier to that, if you like, continued innovation. One of the things that I talk about, or I mentioned in the talk, is that at process level, so typically single-use technology is used at a process development level. Okay. One of the great things about this premise is that as you scale up, you can use the same process, the same materials, the same single-use technology in that production process.
Okay.
And that I guess is one of the best things. You don't have to develop in plastic, let's say, and then move tech transfer to steel. You can just take it all the way through now. Okay. And again, there's a number of manufacturers out there that are manufacturing single-use bioreactors, for instance, 3,000, 5,000, 6,000 liters. So these things are getting bigger as well.
So I'm thinking about that, the suppliers of some of these bioreactors and whatnot, single-use technology. I suppose there's some controls in place for the manufacturer of the drug product to make sure that they're getting consistent bioreactors or products. Is that the case? Are there some change control or supply control in order to make sure that our manufacturing process is controlled as well? Well,
I mean, again, I can't speak on behalf of the manufacturers, and this would sort of get away from my area of expertise. But yeah, I mean, if there's of course, all the manufacturers are fully compliant with all the regulatory requirements. Mm-hmm. and then it would be my estimation that their materials and all of their sort of extractable and leachables profiles, etc., etc., all of these are the same, whether it's 10 liters all the way up to a 6,000 or a 5,000 liter vessel. So I think they've probably got their house in order in that regard. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm just thinking about if I have stainless steel equipment and I'm the drug manufacturer, I'm responsible for the validation of the cleaning, the validation of the sterilization. I own all that process in-house.
Yeah.
Compared to a single-use technology, that process or product control is now someone else's responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're right, and this is one of the advantages, of course, of transitioning from stainless steel to single-use technology. The sort of sip requirement, it diminishes or goes away completely, and therefore it's one less thing to worry about. But you're right. Does it ultimately transfer from if you like, the process or the facility owner to another person who ultimately makes the decision on the bag that they buy from? I think single-use technology has evolved, or certainly has grown for that no longer to keep people awake at night. And I mean, again, I comment in it sort of jokingly. I think people are more worried about the lead times on these things at the moment, rather than any things like that. Some of the lead times quoted for single-use bags, we can make a stainless steel skid and have that installed and validated in the time for some of these. So I think regarding that, I think that and the pandemic either has helped or hasn't helped in that regard, because clearly the demand has gone through the roof, and single-use manufacturers have recognized that, and you'll see announcements everywhere that people are expanding their facilities to meet and try and match the demand. But yeah, I think people worry more about the timelines or the lead times than
I can imagine that. Well, that's interesting information. I guess one last thing I'd like to hear about is looking on the horizon. Which part of this hybrid concept do you think is on the cusp or at the forefront looking forward?
I wouldn't necessarily say there was. I wouldn't necessarily say there was. If you like, the innovation, because the innovation will come from the single-use technology providers, and I think the real benefit of the hybrid model is that there is no limit to what happens ultimately. If you have a stainless steel facility that's going to be decommissioned, again, I talk about fallow space. If you want to put that, you can incorporate that in and use infrastructure from stainless steel facilities. So really, I think the best, if you like, the most advantageous statement I can make is that I don't think there'll be a limit to this hybrid model as we see it.
Okay.
No matter where single-use technology goes, there'll always be a hybrid answer. And what I mean about that is that whether things scale up or scale out, there'll always be the ability to have a hybrid answer or a hybrid solution. So there is no limit really.
Well, that's exciting to think about. From my perspective, I try and keep up on the global regulatory, the regulations, the expectations, the current good manufacturing practices, and I'm always wondering what technology, what innovations are coming along to anticipate these new regulations. Are there regulations that would push us one way or the other, or do you think the hybrid, whether it's single use or the stainless steel, we can have a compliant, robust situation that meets what I call the CGMPs?
I think clearly stainless steel is tried and tested. There is no debate about that. Single use arguably is there. I think there's a case that these systems need to be matured further. But I don't. If you look at the amount of I mean, I've done some research on this information, on single-use technology. Single-use technology we use more and more in production facilities. It's entered the market, if you like, in sort of preclinical and pilot stage. More and more facilities will be going for single production facilities. Will be going GMP production facilities will be going for single-use technology. I don't think there's any issues in that regard. Again, it's not my area of expertise because we don't do single-use technology, and it's not my personal area of expertise. But I don't think there's any issues with that. I think really what it comes back to is doing robust cost analyses, whether or not you need like, how many 6x2K bioreactor
Right.
chains you need, for instance, for the product that you need to make, for instance. Where do the lines cross on whether or not stainless steel makes sense or whether single use makes sense? It's arguably not the single use technology itself. It's more about it's other factors that will drive that. And there may well be, if there are is anybody listening to this or watching this screaming at the screen or their podcast saying, what about there's a myriad of innovations coming through single-use technology. I'm not qualified to talk about them, and I think that they will ultimately improve, process times, product quality, etc., for sure. But
Yeah.
it's not for me to decide on that. We've just integrate them into any facility we design and build.
Right. Well, that's the exciting part. I feel like you can play on the technology that's coming and take a look at the situation and use the right solution depending on the need of the customer.
And that's right. And again, when we talk about this hybrid facility, we talk in proportions. So we can just take either a single-use technology manufacturer's specification, or we can take a customer's need based on the process, and we can go from there and look to incorporate it. What we do as an organization is use the design and engineering principle. So all we have to do is design and engineer it in. It sounds simple, but ultimately that's all we have to do. And we don't see any limit to that coming down the track. Yes, there's lots of innovation, but it won't affect how ultimately we I don't think it'll radically affect how we design and engineer the facilities.
Excellent. Well, Lindsay, on that, I would like to thank you again for your time, and I'm excited to attend your talk tomorrow, Wednesday at 4:15. I think it's exciting things. I'm glad to be here in person with you. Welcome to the United States. I hope you make it back to home without problems.
Well, if I don't, NYC is not a bad place to
absolutely.
End up, right? No, thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed it. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Thanks.